So thank you for joining us today. And this is the last day of the year. And today is Friday, December 31st, 2021. Our call-in number is 563-999-3581 and press 1, and that puts you in the queue to talk to us. We'd love to hear your comments and questions because that makes this your show. Dr. Tim's done the Course in Miracles every day this year, and the one for all this week, it's the same one for every day this week. This holy instance would I give to you, be you in charge, for I would follow you, certain that your direction gives me peace. And I've looked up each day from a different source the description or whatever of the holy instant. And this one says, it is a moment in which we temporarily set aside the past and enter into the timeless present, in which we momentarily transcend identification with illusions and recognize what is real. We enter the holy instant not by making ourselves holy, but by forgetting our normal frame of reference with its absorption in the past, the future, the body, and our own sinfulness. This allows our minds to be still and shift into another state of mind. There we experience the lifting of the barriers of space and time, unawareness of the body, the sudden feeling of peace, joy, and love, recognition of our true holiness, and communion with all that seem to lay outside of us, with all our brothers and with God. In this instant, we may be bumped ahead years in our spiritual development because we experience the end point of development. After this instant, we will go forth in time carrying a permanent, quiet center of timelessness. Our goal is to eventually make this every situation, our goal is to eventually make every situation a holy instant so that our lives become a permanent holy instant. At that point, we will go beyond time into the endless instant of eternity. And it's a practice. It's every day, sometimes 50 times in a minute. So we practice towards that holy instant. Welcome, Michael.
Perfect reading. That's right in line with where I wanted to head with today's show. So thank you for that, sweetie. And when you realize the truth of what Jeanie just said, then you really get to bring your mind into harmony with the truth. You know, Albert Einstein had an interesting observation. He says the theory you have about a thing determines what you can observe. The theory you have about a thing determines what you can observe. If your theories are off, then obviously what you observe, your perceptual construct, is going to be out of alignment. And the fact is, we've been fed many lies, and holding lies as theories literally distorts the output of our minds, leaves us where we can't observe the truth. So what I'd like to do with today's show, seeing as how we're the last show of the year, I'd like to just offer an outline of the truth about how the world works. And my offering would be that the closer we bring, let me say this differently. My experience has been that the closer I can bring my mind into alignment with this as the truth, the closer I observe my mind is able to serve up to me constructs, perceptual constructs, that are based in truth, that are accurate. So if you correct the mind and the theories that it holds, you'll end up with corrected perception. Now, recognize that perception is just a construct of the mind, and being a construct of the mind, in order to create that construct, the mind has to have the content that is at the root of the picture it's going to show you. Remember that if it has that content already, then whatever it is, it's already passed. In order for your mind to have content, the content has to be from the past. And so the perceptual constructs your mind is going to show you are all going to be from the past. They're going to replicate what the mind holds. The thing is that if you can get to what Jeanie was reading about the holy instant, if you can get to the moment where love is present and perception is based on the presence of love rather than on the past, all of a sudden you get to experience a perceptual system that is free of errors. And that becomes the jump-off point for entering into literally the present. And the reason they call it the present is because whenever you're there, you are the presence and you are in touch with the presence of love. And you get to actually move into a true present moment experience rather than something replicated by the mind from the past. So your so-called body is a cosmic soup of neuropeptides. Lab research now shows that those are reflections of condensed thoughts. When you think a thought, a neuropeptide, quote unquote, appears in your quote unquote body. Now remember, body is theory. What we call a body is a picture in a mind. What the actuality of the thing is that your perception doesn't show you is that it is an energy system. When you start to understand it from the perspective of energy and you let go of all the theories based on material substance, you get to enter a whole new world of perception. So what they've shown in the cell biologist laboratory is that when you think a thought, literally a neuropeptide appears in your structure. That neuropeptide circulates around in your structure. Each of them is a protein, a unique structure, and it's a reflection of and built according to the blueprint created by our thoughts. Each neuropeptide is designed to carry the message it contains to the cell, and it directs the cell's function accordingly. So you think a thought, that thought circulates around in your structure till it finds a cell with a receptor site that matches. It lands on the receptor site and inserts itself in the cell. And if you were looking from inside of the cell, that neuropeptide that's just inserted itself will look like what we call chemistry in the cell. And this is a mechanism by which individual cells, which have no other apparent means of contact with the outside world, are informed about the world or informed about your perception of the world, accurate or inaccurate. Inaccurate perceptions tell your cellular structure, like let's say, for instance, we have perception based in fear. If the fear filter is active, then the mind will continuously create perceptual constructs that show us something threatening in our environment. So if fear is activated, the mind produces perceptions of threat. If the cells are communicated continuously a message that says threat, 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 the cell's function is compromised. It moves from full creative function to protective defensive function. And it compromises the higher abilities of the cell. Now, each neuropeptide is a direct reflection of the quality of our thoughts, and each communicates and inserts an energy, a message into our cells. The messages received by the cell directly impact every activity of that cell, including the changing of the action of and the rewriting of our genes. Now, this mechanism of cellular communication was originally designed to inform the cell about the actual world. Unfortunately, a relatively new skill, perception, made up by us, we directly get fed, nurtured, and come to an experience of that actuality. But if we insert this thing called perception, and the perception is false, then the cellular structure is continuously working from a false precept. A thought from the past massaged into appearing as a present moment experience is always a lie. It's just an appearance. You might remember the warning that Yeshua gave, do not judge by appearances. When these constructs get between us and our loved ones and our lives, the results can be devastating. Or, with tools, these experiences can be the opportunity for monumental healing and transformation. What we're looking to do with this work is to bring transformation. Continuously. Possibility. Literally, the corrected perception is the opportunity to do generations of inherited trauma healing. And we're looking to create those opportunities continuously. To build an understanding of the dynamic process of constructive perception, I suggest that you go to your internet and type in www.cia.gov. And there you'll find a book, do a search, and you'll find a book where the CIA did some research on intelligence. So www.cia.gov and look for their book on intelligence. There's a chapter on perception in that book. And I'm going to quote word for word what the CIA said. Now, you might find it interesting that the CIA is teaching the Course in Miracles, precisely in alignment with what the Course teaches. So here's word for word what their research says. Perception is a demonstrably active rather than passive process. It constructs rather than records reality. People continuously construct their own version of reality. Now, I would shift that language a little bit to be in alignment with this work, and that is that people construct their own version of reality, and they think that their reality is actuality. So we have actuality, what's actually occurring in the world, and then we have the mind's construct. And the mind will try to convince us that its construct is the actuality of the world, but it's not. It's just the mind's reality. So you can go to the Study of Intelligence. Look for a book entitled The Study of Intelligence on the CIA website. Now, my offering is that life abhors us holding on to and hiding from ourselves, the dis-ease energies. And life is designed to bring us someone who can resonate, someone who can show us these dis-ease energies directly. So whatever we hold on to in the way of false perception, remember Einstein's thing, the theory you have about a thing determines what you can observe. So if you have a theory, let's say you've been through a particular painful reality 87 different times with 42 different people, and you have a theory that everybody else is the problem in your life, then your mind will construct a perceptual reality that says, you're the problem in my life. Now, sooner or later, I'm going to have to come to the point where I go, I've been through this one 87 different times with 42 different people. Maybe this is about me. If I don't do that, here's what happens. The theory I have about a thing is an energy that I hold in my mind, and I continuously send that energetic pattern out into the world. And because the world operates by resonance, and resonance creates motion toward, somebody's going to show up to play my theory out with me. So someone who can resonate, someone who can show us the dis-ease energies directly, the ones that we hold and pretend don't belong to us but belong to everybody else, that we're going to draw somebody in to resonate those energies directly. When we blame them for what we're feeling, we're engaging in a theory. You made me, and now I'm limited as to what I can observe. What we're unknowingly doing to ourselves with our own minds, our minds use those energies moving in us, and the energies might be resonated by another, but we use those energetic patterns to build the world of perception, the picture world that we see. It is we who convert those energies into images, false pictures directed by our errant minds. And they, the picture or mind of someone else, falsely shows up inside of us with our problem attached. Now, the way to tell that this is true is to notice that you're the one that's feeling what's moving in you. You can say to somebody, you made me mad, but you're the one who's feeling the mad because that energy is moving in you. Now, the process of forming unconscious perceptions leaves us believing the fallacy that as we look at the pictures or projections generated by our brains, our self-generated constructs, that our eyes are actually showing us something outside of ourselves. Codependence is the belief that someone or something else is responsible for what you're doing to yourself with your own mind. Let's do that again. Codependence is the belief that someone or something else is responsible for what you are doing to yourself with your own mind. And nothing could be further from the truth that the belief that others cause you to feel that others are responsible for the energy that's moving in you. Nothing could be further from the truth than that belief. But this errant conclusion leaves us stuck in the belief that our why is this happening to me again experiences are forced on us from the outside, when the truth is that the world of pain perception is a totally internal, self-generated, self-imposed world. This self-imposed world that seems to be impossible to escape is usually based on generations of errant theories and perceptions. Generations of unresolved pain lead us to errant conclusions. So recognize that if there's something, an energetic pattern in you that is unresolved and is signaling pain, then that unresolved pain, if you live in denial, will, again, the theory you have about a thing, if the theory is they made me mad, they made me sad, they made me afraid, then it's going to lead me to errant conclusions. Now, my offering is there is one and only one escape from that situation. It was taught 2,000 years ago. And we need to look differently, take a different perspective than the one that is taught by the world of blame. The only escape I would offer from the mind continuing to generate its errant perception, its errant conclusions, is to be able to collapse those conclusions. You must learn to collapse the errant perception of your mind. And the tool for doing that is called forgiveness. Forgiveness is a technology that was given to us 2,000 years ago in the ancient Aramaic language. So the world of blame says it's all your fault. If that's the theory I have about a thing, my mind will continuously generate perceptual constructs that show me somebody else is at fault. And anybody will do. Your worst enemy or your dearest friend. If there's nobody else available, the mind will turn its viciousness on whoever's handy. When we feel pain without being touched, that pain, I'd offer, is often a generational experience that's up for healing. And as you free yourself from the capacity to generate any kind of internal pain, you'll be opening the space to free your generations and quite literally all the world. There's a great line in the Course in Miracles that says, millions yet unborn will benefit from the work you do. For each person willing to go to this level of healing, we're here. We hold in the deepest way possible the space for you to come out the other side of this experience with a whole new level of serenity, a new level of aliveness that's beyond the understanding of the world. Quite literally, the serenity that passes all understanding. We've just done a brief synopsis of my book, Why Is This Happening to Me Again? Unfortunately, we can't sell you a new copy if we wanted to because it's out of print. However, you can go to your to Amazon or eBay, other places too, but those two always have multiple copies of the book available, used copies that are fairly inexpensive. Or you can go to our website, whyagain.org, and you can download the book free in English or German or Spanish or Farsi or I don't know what all the languages are, but there are many there. Download the book free. So the mechanism underlying the process of generating perception is one where these neuropeptides, which are nothing but energetic patterns created by thoughts, circulate and find cells to which they have an affinity and attach to that cell's receptor site. Landing on those cells, they insert themselves and appear, as I said earlier, inside the cell as chemistry. These information carriers are designed to inform the cell about actuality, the actual world, or communicate about internal conditions and needs. Sadly, this process has, for the most part, been compromised by errant perception. Much of this cellular communication process has become a rehash of unresolved dissociated traumas from the past, often arising from generational patterns out of the genes. The reflections of these unconscious processes appear to be the present in the mind. Now, I suspect that understanding this particular set of thoughts is what led Henry David Thoreau in 1854 to write the words, which we quote in the opening of my book, Why Is This Happening to Me Again? The mass of men lead lives of quiet desperation. What is called resignation is confirmed desperation. From the desperate city, one goes into the desperate country. And have to console themselves with the bravery of muskrats and minks. In other words, kill them something. in order to feel the thrill. He goes on to say, a stereotyped but unconscious despair is concealed even under what are called the games and amusements of mankind. But it is a characteristic of wisdom not to do desperate things. One of the things that you'll find as you really truly engage your forgiveness work is you'll stop compulsively doing desperate things. Stop doing desperate things. In other words, when that crunch of hostility or fear comes up of those energetic patterns, aliveness and well-being with integrative, supportive chemistry, quote unquote, and we could substitute the word information. So remember that the cell has no other apparent means of knowing what's going on in the environment in a human form. You know, we've got a community of trillions of cells. The only way that those cells get to know what's going on around it and what to do, and thoughts based in love produce literal energetic structures called neuropeptides that communicate information and support the aliveness and well-being of those cells. Thoughts based in hate, anger, and fear and loss. Now, your mind may say, well, yeah, but this is all justified. Well, that's one theory. And if you hold that theory, then the theory you have about the thing will determine how you perceive it, and you'll go right on doing it. But once you realize that thoughts based in anger, hatred, fear, and loss are internal, and when they insert themselves into a cell, they show up as chemistry, as information that destroys the cell. And this is the root of all disease and feelings of pain. Shy of someone punching you in the nose, there is no pain that can be inflicted upon you by the world. Any circumstance, situation that can happen cannot inflict pain on you. But if you're in pain, again, short of being punched in the nose, it's because there's some form of hostility or fear moving in you. My offering is that a healthy cell cannot be attacked by any organism. Each thought, when stored in the cell, either supports the life of the cell or the destruction of the cell. There's integrative and there's disintegrative energy. Where disintegrative energy is placed, there's going to be a warning signal. The cell, when that disintegrative energy hits the neuropeptide, the receptor site, when the neuropeptide hits the receptor site, the cell is going to say, ouch, in some way, shape, or form. But if we live in a world where our theory is, remember the theory you have about a thing determines what you can observe. If we live in a world that our theory is somebody else is to blame here, then my mind will always structure a construct showing me a picture of somebody else being to blame, and I'll insert that picture in place of the truth, and my cells will get a wrong picture, an errant understanding of what's going on. We are warned by feelings of pain and turmoil that we have a thought disorder. We're not warned that somebody else is the problem in our life. When we engage in thoughts that create the chemistry of destruction, pain is the warning that those thoughts do not belong in our structures. Thoughts, compressed into a neuropeptide, when they land on the cell, create a sensation in the cell that we call feelings. And these feelings inform the cell and us the quality of our thoughts and our creative process. Probably one of the greatest atrocities that's ever been done to humankind down through the ages, and that we've bought into, is that we've had hidden from us the fact that we are by nature creators. When we have that hidden from us, then we can believe that everybody else is the problem in our lives. We need to reclaim our creatorship and realize who we are. Most people, when experiencing pain, deny responsibility by blaming others for what they are energetically doing to themselves with the hidden parts of their own minds. We literally dissociate from and hide the dynamic of destruction that is self-induced when we live in the world of denial. Remember our definition of denial. When I think or speak as though someone outside of me is the cause of what's happening inside of me, I'm in denial. When I'm in denial, I dissociate from the truth of the energetic dynamics within me. When I dissociate from the truth of the energetic dynamics within me, I'm in deep trouble. Because those energetic dynamics go on unchecked. If they go on unchecked and they're of a disintegrative nature, then the disease process runs rampant, and I'll believe that I've got some form of physical disease. Now, most find a way to self-medicate, to drug themselves to cover up the disintegrative energy they're engaged in. Why do you suppose somebody who pulls out a fifth of scotch and drinks themselves into a stupor and the next morning is in such pain and such trauma and such stupidity they can hardly stand themselves and they need another bite of the dog that bit them? Why do you suppose people do that? My offering is that they're trying to cover the disintegrative energies that they've put into their own structures, and they're trying to hide the resultant pain from themselves. And I'm offering that everything from junk food to prescription drugs can be used to anesthetize and destroy awareness of the truth. Pain is designed to shake us back to awareness. Its purpose is to make our ears grow. Now, let's go back and repeat Einstein's thought. The theory you have about a thing determines what you can observe. These principles are there to describe the only cause of disease in the human body. Bacteria and viruses do not cause diseases. Remember, it was called the germ theory. We have to assault tissue repeatedly in order for it to begin to decay and become physical, what we call physical disease. Now, the organisms that we blame, they're called reducer organisms. They reduce the presence of dead, decaying, disintegrating material. That's what they're designed to do. They're designed to clean up the mess. So the disintegrating cells become a toxin. Heal yourself. If I'm in error, then you'll be motivated to heal yourself. There's no cost. You'll remember that the ancients counseled, take care of the heart, for out of it are the issues in life. Now that word heart, in our modern updated language, would be the unconscious. A particular ancient teacher, a master physiologist, psychologist, geneticist, neurobiologist, Yeshua, also known as Jesus, 2,000 years ago said, you must forgive from your heart, your unconscious, the wrongs of your brother. Our perceptions, our realities, are an internal construct, often with little resemblance to and a little to do with the outer world of actuality. Our eyes do not see outside of us. They're not windows on the world. The pictures they show us are an artificially created construct. Remember the CIA? The mind does not record reality. The mind generates reality. This artificially generated world is nothing but a reflection of an unresolved past, but tricks us into thinking that the world we think we see is actually out there instead of in here. These constructs are our own private realities that may or may not represent the actuality that is occurring. But here's what you can be assured of. It'll always tell you precisely the state of your own mind. The perceptual constructs of your mind will always tell you precisely the state of your mind. Now, what is this heart that Yeshua speaks of in Aramaic? My offering is, it is the unconscious. Out of the hidden parts of the mind flow the energies that control our lives, ease or pain, our joy or depression, our aliveness or our death. Yeshua in Aramaic never said to forgive your brothers. That would be a huge mistake. Pardon, if you will, let somebody else off the hook, but reserve forgiveness for the one place that it belongs, and that is inside of you. So what Yeshua is telling us is that what we feel when we blame another is something that we're hiding from ourselves. And this is accomplished through the act of denial. When I speak or think as though something inside of me is caused by something outside of me, I'm in denial. And in order to make that belief logical, I have to hide the part of my mind that's creating the disturbance. By so doing, I create a hidden compartment in my mind. That compartment is called the unconscious mind, or the heart in the ancient scriptures. And by definition, if I have an unconscious, I have no direct access to it. Many people say, well, if that was going on inside of me, I'd know it. No, that's why it's called the unconscious. Through repeated denial, I strongly energize the hidden content that I don't want to deal with. That strongly energized content reflects as my creative process, and at some point is going to rise up, much to my regret, and directly control me. My denial causes all of the unpleasant sensations I feel in my body. It intensifies pain. How do I tell whether or not what I'm feeling is mine or not? Well, we've developed a test. Are you feeling it? If you're feeling it, then you know that it's yours. Now, you can say, you made me angry, afraid, or sad, but that's an absolute impossibility. That's a lie I tell myself. I'm feeling the movement of impacted, unpleasant energies that I've hidden from myself through denial. And I've hidden them from myself by blaming someone else. All I have to do is say, you made me mad, and the root of the mad part of my mind is now unconscious. It's no longer mine to correct. Now, when a whole society buys into this blatant error, it counsels you to forgive others. It counsels you in an impossibility. Oh, just let them off the hook. But our offering is, never forgive another, yourself, or anyone. Bad idea. Pardon them, let them off the hook if you wish. But once again, apply forgiveness to the only place it belongs, and that's inside yourself. In Aramaic, the word forgive describes a tool with which you uncover and heal the dissociated parts of self, the root of all pain. A true understanding of forgiveness is to remove or to evict from your unconscious the past, that part of you with which you make up the lie that your brother is the problem in your life. Those who resonate our hurt are never the cause of our hurt. We've been taught to blame anyone, ourselves, and even the ones we cherish most. Any object of attention will do when in denial. Yeshua had a specific how-to technology for giving, for accessing and removing disintegrative thoughts, decompressing, decoding, and removing actual neuropeptides that distort cellular function that do not belong in the human mind is the true meaning of forgiveness. The Greeks did not have a clue. They turned forgiveness backward. They made it about letting others off the hook going on inside our own hearts, the sole source of our own issues. So the Greek interpretation of forgiveness is, you are the cause of my pain. This is all your fault, but it's okay. I'll be big about it. I'll forgive you. Our offering is, that is pardoning. Whenever you're in fear or hostility, how do you get back to love? My offering is by accessing and removing the root thoughts that cause the fear or hostility. In the first century, in the Aramaic language, a tool for accomplishing that purpose was taught, and it was forgiveness. When properly understood and used, its activity accesses and removes the generational impact of hostility and fear. Angry minds in denial, minds that don't want to own anything or be responsible for anything going on in their lives, have universally made forgiveness about letting others off the hook for their own internal conditions. And that, I'd offer, is insanity. Never forgive anyone for anything. Use forgiveness to see, access, and remove internally generated disturbances, the only ones that you can feel, and be restored to love, your birthright. And Jeanie just came in and told me that we have a hand up. So if we've got a hand up, I'm going to just let this sit right where it is and recognize that we're looking to access a technology that restores us to our birthright, which is to experience ourselves and those around us as active present love. My offering is, that's what we're designed to live out of, is that true active presence of love. And that's what we're here to share with you. And so, Miss Jeanie, you've got somebody.
And it's a really long number, but I believe that it's Miss Carrie. Welcome.
Hi there. It is.
Well, welcome,
right.
young lady.
Yeah, we couldn't hop on right at the beginning, but the last part we heard is so good. Thank you for always sharing these thoughts. They're just amazing, and the way you put them together is fabulous. And I had an experience the other day that I think it kind of fits right into this that I wanted to
Cool.
share.
Tell us about it.
Well, I'll see if I can make it quick, but we originally got this washing machine that we thought, we live in Mexico, so we thought we'd get this really simple washing machine, but it turned out to be way too simple. And it would just drain the water, it didn't spin, and didn't even drain all the water. And we've got to get a washing machine that does a little more of the work for us. And because my husband speaks really good Spanish, and he talked to the different people in the system, and they said, yeah, bring it, and you can exchange it at the store. And so we went to get the washing machine, and it turned out a lady who worked at our hardware store in our little village also was there, and she was picking up a trampoline for her kids, and we had borrowed a neighbor's truck to do it. And we offered to give her a ride home because her trampoline wouldn't fit in a taxi. So she and my husband were waiting at the truck for the different appliances to come out, and I went to go get something in the grocery store. And as I started walking that direction, I took my mask off, which I had on in the store, and I thought to myself, everybody needs to take these masks off. And which, of course, I knew as soon as I thought it wasn't coming from pure alignment with love, and The second that I had that thought, I tripped over the edge of the sidewalk. And I've kind of learned if I trip to just let myself fall so I don't hurt myself worse, because it's usually my soul picking me up and dropping me and saying, hey, pay attention. So as I'm falling to the sidewalk, I bumped my knee, but not too bad, and came up behind me this mama and two kids. Huh? You felt that bump?
When you said that, I had this flash of energy go through my right knee.
When I'm not in alignment with love. Go ahead, sorry.
I was just saying that when you said those words, I had this flash of energy fly through my right knee.
Yeah. For me, it was my left knee. But I landed, and as I landed in this puddle, like the second I hit bottom, this Spanish lady, Mexican lady, and her two kids came up behind me, and she was rattling away in Spanish. I don't even know everything she said. She grabbed one arm, and a man came up from a crowd of people walking by who wasn't even connected with her, picked me up by the other arm, and just like two angels, they just picked me right up off the ground. And then the man just kept walking. I looked to see who was that, and here's a group of people walking that direction, and I couldn't even tell who it was who had picked me up. And the lady and her kids walked on, and I was like, wow. It's that, I think, being really present with ourselves when we know that, you know, our old data is kind of vibrationally present, and we are in it, and then we get sort of, I find that I get sort of clunked, you know, one way or another. Something says, hey, pay attention. You're not 100% in love. And then I can breathe and I can release and let go, you know, but it's just having that hyper-awareness all the time. So
when I'm not in love, I go down. When I'm in love, I get lifted up.
Yeah, did you hear that? Say that again, babe. My husband just said.
Hi, this is Marek. When you're out of love, you go down. And when you're in love, you are lifted up. And it was just that fast. She was out of love.
Absolutely.
She went down. And as she was going down, she realized, I know why this is. And barely touching the ground, it was like a bounce. And there were people there, like angels.
Support was there.
Her up.
Yeah. Awesome.
It was beautiful. It was really cool.
You trigger, Carrie, with that story and what you had just said, you trigger a memory for me. Back about 20 years ago, we had a man who arrived at Heartland who was former military, and they were getting ready to put him in isolation in a mental institution, and he probably would have been there for the rest of his life. And it turned out he went to report to the VA, and the VA didn't have a bed for him, and he went into a rage. That was his PTS kicking in. I don't think there's a D on the end of PTS. The D, it's not a disorder, it's just the way the mind adapts. But he went into a rage, and he decided he was going to go out into the woods, which was his thing to do, and brood. And, you know, I mean, he loved nature. And so he lived in Kansas City, and he came down, and his sister lived about an hour from us, and she'd been helping me edit my book. So actually, this is more like 25 years ago, because it was before my book was published. Anyway, he ended up coming to see me and came to Heartland and was on the support team. And about a month or so, maybe 6 weeks into his time at Heartland, he came into the kitchen from being out in the woods, and he was like, I got it. He said, I've been in the woods forever, and I get bit by the bugs, and I get eaten by the bugs and all of that. And he said, today I went out into the woods, and for the first time, I was in love. And he said, I realized I was not in the food chain. No bites, no ticks, no chiggers. When I went into love, I was not in the food chain anymore.
That's great.
And and that, you know, that life brings support when we're connected, and it reflects and deflects support when we're not. It's a powerful lesson.
It really is, and it's so beautiful, you know, when you have your eyes open to see and your ears open to hear. And
well, another thing that strikes me in your example of, I take it, when you talk about how your husband's fluent, very fluent in Spanish, and you're not that fluent, that
Right.
the language you're thinking in is English, and the language had nothing to do with the energy you were radiating. The people who spoke probably only Spanish didn't hear your thought of, oh, I'm in love, but energetically, without reference to language, they got it. It is literally the universal language, and they're just right there for you, and that's the core of it all.
Yeah, it was so beautiful. It was like angels, and I call angels angles of light. It was like these beautiful, like this. I saw this woman's face, and she's looking concerned but rattling away in Spanish, and she just grabs my arm, and then I feel this other hands come under my other arm and just lift me up, and it was just really, really, yes, just the sheer love that just went between all of us, and really, really nice, yeah.
So how do you suppose the world is going to look when we hit critical mass and 7.5 people wake up one morning realizing, I am love, I'm not in the food chain?
7.5 billion, you mean? 7.5 billion,
7.5
right?
billion. Yeah, all of us.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
That's what
we're down for that. I mean, that's why that's our choice of what we want to help bring into being.
I support that timeline.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm with you guys 200%.
Yep. We're here to support that timeline to help make it happen, and we feel like what we teach, what we say, what we do every single day really matters, and how we live, that we're really paying attention to where our hearts, our minds, and our spirits are aligned, that we're freeing up our old data when it comes up and being present and accounted for.
Every neuropeptide communicates a message to all the world. The neuropeptides we form, which are just reflections of our thoughts, are really important to keep clean, to keep on track.
Yeah.
For our own physiology, our own state of health and disease of this instrument, and for the impact we have in the world.
Yes.
And to me,
go ahead.
Well, I was going to say the whole process of forgiveness is literally one of becoming conscious of and being able to literally remove those impacted thoughts, those thought disorders, the neuropeptides, from the cell and be able to throw them out. That's the act of forgiveness, decompressing, removing, decoding those neuropeptides that have maybe been in there for 20 generations, and being able to access and remove them through the presence of love and that smile.
Yes. Beautiful.
Yay. Well, joining you in the process, and we're down to the last minute. Love to have conversations with you, and anytime we can have you, key in, please do. We appreciate you and hold the space for you and everyone to have the best year yet of your eternal life. It's an awesome gift to give the world. It's a gift we can each give, and the world is certainly in need of it. Blessings. Bye-bye.